Hey baby, why don't you smile for us? The taller man blocks the gym entrance as 25-year-old Nina Rodriguez tries to walk past him and his friend, both of them laughing while a dozen other gym members pretend not to notice. She's wearing simple workout clothes and carrying a duffel bag, looking like any other person trying to get through their evening routine, but these two have been following her from the parking lot making comments. What they don't know is that Nina just finished 5 years as a Marine Corps hand-to-hand combat instructor, and she's about 3 seconds away from teaching them a lesson they'll never forget. Before this situation escalates, smash that subscribe button if you want to see people get exactly what they deserve, and drop a comment telling us how you would handle disrespect like this. Nina had been a civilian for exactly 4 months. After 5 years in the Marines, most of it spent teaching combat techniques at Camp Lejeune, she decided it was time to come home to Arizona and figure out normal life. Whatever that meant. She got a small apartment, enrolled in community college, and found a gym near her place where she could keep training. The gym was nothing fancy. Basic equipment, reasonable monthly fee, open 24 hours. Perfect for someone who liked to work out late when the crowds were smaller. That Tuesday evening, Nina finished her shift at the coffee shop where she worked part-time and headed to the gym around 8. The parking lot was half empty, which was normal for this time of night. She grabbed her bag from the trunk and started walking toward the entrance. That's when she noticed the two men. They were leaning against a truck near the gym entrance, both in their late 20s or early 30s. The taller one had a backwards baseball cap and the build of someone who spent a lot of time lifting weights, but not much time learning how to actually move. His friend was shorter, stockier, with a sleeveless shirt showing off arm tattoos. Nina's radar went up immediately. She had developed good instincts about people during her time in the Marines. These two were looking for trouble. She kept walking, hoping they would just let her pass. But as she got closer, the tall one pushed off the truck and stepped into her path. "Whoa, where are you going so fast?" he said with a grin that made Nina's skin crawl. "The gym," Nina said flatly, trying to step around him. He moved to block her again. "What's the rush? We were just wondering if you needed a spotter tonight. Me and my buddy here, we're really good at spotting." His friend laughed. "Yeah, we could teach you some things." Nina's jaw tightened. "I'm good, thanks. Now move." The tall one held up his hands in mock innocence. "Whoa, relax. We're just being friendly. You don't have to be so uptight about it." Nina could see other people in the parking lot. A couple walking to their car. A guy loading equipment into his truck. Nobody was looking over. Nobody wanted to get involved. She had 2 choices. Make a scene or just deal with it and get inside. She chose the path of least resistance and tried to walk around them again. The shorter one stepped in her way this time. "Come on, don't be like that. We just want to get to know you. Maybe we could all work out together. Grab some drinks after." Nina stopped. She looked at both of them carefully. These weren't just guys being awkward or socially clueless. They were deliberately blocking her, deliberately making her uncomfortable and enjoying her discomfort. "I'm going to say this one time," Nina said, her voice low and controlled. "Get out of my way," the tall one laughed. "Or what? You going to tell the manager? Get us kicked out?" His friend moved closer. "Maybe if you're nice to us, we'll let you through." "How about a smile first?" Something shifted in Nina's demeanor. The people who knew her from the Marines would have recognized that shift. It was the moment when she stopped being patient and started calculating exactly how to handle a threat. But these 2 idiots had no idea what they were looking at. Nina set her bag down slowly. "All right," she said. "You want to see what happens if I'm not nice? Let's find out." The tall one's grin widened. "Oh, we got a tough girl here. This should be fun." He reached out to grab her arm. It was the biggest mistake he made that day. Nina moved faster than either of them could process. She trapped his reaching hand, stepped inside his stance, and used a basic wrist lock to rotate his entire arm. In less than 2 seconds, the tall guy was bent forward at the waist, his arm twisted behind his back at an angle that made him gasp in pain. "What the—" he started to say, but Nina applied more pressure and his words turned into a yelp. The shorter friend stood there frozen for a second, not understanding how his buddy went from harassing someone to being completely controlled. Then his brain caught up and he moved forward. "Hey, let him go!" Nina's foot shot out in a low side kick that caught him in the knee. Not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough to drop him to the ground. He went down hard, clutching his leg. The couple who had been walking to their car stopped and stared. The guy loading his truck finally looked over. Other people started coming out of the gym to see what the commotion was about. Nina still had the tall guy's arm locked. She leaned close to his ear and spoke quietly. "I'm going to let you go now. When I do, you and your friend are going to walk away and never bother me or anyone else here again. Understand?" The guy was breathing hard, his face red. Okay. Just let go." Nina released him and stepped back. The tall guy stumbled away, rubbing his shoulder. His friend was still on the ground, trying to stand up. A crowd had gathered now, about 15 people standing around watching. One of them was the gym manager, a middle-aged woman named Carol who had come running when she heard the yelling. "What's going on out here?" Carol demanded. The tall guy pointed at Nina. "She attacked us. We were just talking to her and she went crazy." Several people in the crowd started talking at once. Some had seen what happened. Others had only caught the end. Nina stood calmly, her breathing normal, her hands at her sides. "That's not what happened," she said. "These two were blocking my path and refusing to let me enter the gym. When one of them grabbed me, I defended myself. A man in the crowd spoke up. He was older, probably in his 50s. I saw the whole thing. Those two were harassing her. She asked them multiple times to move. The tall one grabbed her arm first. Another woman nodded. I saw it too. They were being aggressive." Carol looked at the two men. "Is this true?" The tall one's face was still red, but now with embarrassment instead of pain. "We were just joking around," he muttered. Carol's expression went cold. "Get off this property, both of you. You're banned from this gym permanently. If you come back, I'm calling the police." The two men looked like they wanted to argue, but the crowd was clearly on Nina's side. They retreated to their truck, the tall one still rubbing his shoulder, and drove off quickly. Carol turned to Nina. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Nina said. "Where did you learn to do that?" someone in the crowd asked. Nina picked up her bag. "I was a Marine, combat instructor. I taught hand-to-hand fighting for 5 years." The crowd went silent for a moment. Then the older man who had spoken up started clapping. Others joined in. Within seconds, the entire group was applauding. Nina felt her face get hot. She wasn't comfortable with attention like this. She just nodded and started walking toward the gym entrance, but Carol stopped her. "Hold on. Can I talk to you for a second?" They walked inside to Carol's office. Carol sat down behind her desk and looked at Nina thoughtfully. "I've been managing this gym for 12 years, Carol said, "and I've seen way too many women get harassed in our parking lot by guys who think they can get away with it. What you did out there, that was incredible. But more than that, I think you could help other people learn how to protect themselves." Nina wasn't sure where this was going. "What do you mean?" Carol leaned forward. "I've been wanting to start self-defense classes here. Real ones, not the fake stuff. But I've never found the right instructor. Someone with actual training and experience. Would you be interested?" Nina thought about it. She had been struggling to find her place in civilian life. The coffee shop job was just paying bills. School was fine but felt empty. She missed teaching, missed helping people develop skills that could save their lives. "Yeah," Nina said. "I'd be interested." They worked out the details over the next week. Nina would teach 2 classes a week, one for women only, focusing on practical self-defense and awareness, one mixed class for anyone serious about learning combat fundamentals. Word spread fast about the Marine instructor, who had handled 2 harassers in the parking lot. The first class had 30 people show up. Nina had to cap enrollment because the space couldn't hold more. She taught them everything she knew. How to recognize threats early, how to de-escalate situations when possible, and when de-escalation failed, how to defend themselves effectively. The women especially connected with her. Many of them had experienced harassment or worse. They had felt helpless and scared. Nina showed them they didn't have to be victims. One student, a college girl named Ashley, approached Nina after the 3rd class. "I just wanted to say thank you," Ashley said quietly. "Last semester, a guy followed me to my car and I froze. I didn't know what to do. Since starting your class, I feel like I could actually handle that situation now." Nina felt something shift inside her. This was why she had joined the Marines in the first place. Not to hurt people, but to protect them, to give them tools to protect themselves. The classes grew. Within 3 months, Nina was teaching 5 times a week. The gym had to expand their schedule to accommodate demand. Carol offered her a full-time position as head self-defense instructor. Nina quit the coffee shop and threw herself into teaching. She developed a complete curriculum based on her Marine Corps training, but adapted for civilian situations. She brought in guest instructors. She organized seminars and workshops. The 2 men who had harassed her never came back, but Nina heard through the gym grapevine that they had tried the same thing at another location and got arrested. Apparently, the woman they targeted that time had immediately called the police, and security footage caught everything. Nina was glad, not because they got in trouble, but because someone else had stood up to them. The cycle was breaking. A year after that incident in the parking lot, a local news station did a story about Nina's program. They interviewed students who talked about how the classes had changed their lives, how they felt safer, more confident, empowered. The reporter asked Nina what motivated her to start teaching. Nina thought about that night, about standing in the parking lot with 2 men blocking her path, about the choice she had made to not just walk away, but to establish a boundary and enforce it. "I got tired of watching people be afraid," Nina said. "Fear is natural, but it doesn't have to control you. If you have the right training, the right mindset, you can face threats and come out the other side stronger." The story went viral. Nina started getting contacted by other gyms, schools, and organizations wanting to start similar programs. She began training other instructors, sharing her curriculum, helping build a network of people teaching practical self-defense. She never forgot where it started, though. In a parking lot, with 2 men who thought they could intimidate someone just because she looked like an easy target, they learned the hard way that appearances can be deceiving. That the quiet woman with the duffel bag might be someone who had spent years learning how to handle threats far more dangerous than a couple of gym bullies. And because they pushed her that night, because they forced her to show what she was capable of, dozens of other people learned how to protect themselves too. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes. Nina's moment of confrontation became a catalyst for change, not just for her, but for everyone she taught afterward. And every time a student came to her with a story about how they used her training to escape a dangerous situation, Nina remembered why she had served in the first place: to make people safer, to give them strength, to show them they were capable of more than they ever imagined. That mission never ended. It just changed form.